The 2023 Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. That's what we're gonna have a look at in this video. And I can't wait to show you around all the design details, both in the exterior and the interior. Huge thanks to Stefan of Urban Motors for letting me review this car. They have a very cool selections of very unique cars for sale right now. Go check it out at urbanmotorsco.com or click the link down in the description. So before we jump into the design here, let's talk about some of the basic spec and tech. What do you get for the base price of $80,000? You get a 3.5 liter twin turbo electrified V6 putting out 437 horsepower and 585 pound-feet of torques. You also have a 10-speed automatic transmission. 0 to 60 takes about 6.2 seconds. Fuel economy, you have a 19 city, 21 highway. And if you're thinking of buying the Sequoia TRD Pro, you definitely need to get it in this color called Solar Octane. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're having a look at this. This is the 2023 Toyota Sequoia, completely redesigned of course, and it was about time. The old one had been around for a very long time, and as you can see, this comes in this super cool color that's called Solar Octane, and I feel like I need to have my shades on just because of this color. It really pops in the sunshine. So what we're gonna do in this video, we're of course gonna talk about this design and the TRD package, which make this a special Sequoia, not just with the off-road package, but also with all the different graphics that we have in the front, side, and rear. And even though this looks like a Tundra in the front end, I think the overall proportions look so much cooler because the wheelbase is shorter and it creates this bulkier, heavy unit of a car. So let's start with the front end. So looking at the beautiful front end of the new Sequoia, I think Toyota right now, they're going through their entire lineup, redesigning them to be the same kind of feel when it comes to identity, design identity. And this clearly takes a lot of inspiration. I think even these headlights are straight off the Tundra. I don't see anything wrong with that. This grille also looks a lot like the Tundra. We have the built-in light bar right here, which I think is a great idea because a lot of people who go for the TRD Pro are definitely going to want to put a light bar as an aftermarket piece, but they don't need to do that now because we have it straight from the factory. Then you have the front-facing camera right here, super important and useful, especially when you're going off-road, to see what type of obstacles you're going over before you actually run them over. And then you have this, I love this heritage badge. Instead of having this, chrome Toyota logo in the center, it just wouldn't work with the TRD Pro. And you also have the marker lights. It's wider than 80 inches. That means that you need to have the marker lights up there. Honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, who doesn't think marker lights look cool, and specifically on a big beast like this? Underneath, you have this. This is plastic. So this is one thing that I would definitely change if I were to redesign this Sequoia, is to have this skid plate that sits all the way back there. I want to have that front and center. So when you go over bumps on rock trails or something like that, you don't want to be worried that you're going to hit the plastic first. You want to have the skid plate up in front and take that initial hit. Now, when I reviewed the Tundra a couple of weeks back, we talked about the bumper and how it kind of looks a little bulky and sticks out specifically when you look at it from a side view. However, in this case, I think this integration of this functional air vent, you also have a functional air vent right here, I think this looks a lot better. And if I had a Tundra, I would maybe look into making a front bumper swap so that I could have the Sequoia bumper onto my Tundra, because as I said, this looks more fluid and doesn't have this bulky feeling, specifically in this corner of the bumper like we have on the Tundra. I love these headlights. You have 4 big LEDs for the high beams and the low beams, and then you have this big LED here with a sequential side indicator light. Super nice design, and it also creates a very, very strong brand identity. The new Tacoma is going to look very similar to this, even though in a smaller scale. The headlights are not going to be this big, but still the same feeling and same vibe is going to carry over to the new Tacoma as well. One thing I like about the front end of the Sequoia and the Tacoma as well is that all these openings here, you can see clearly into all the radiators and what's going on here. There's no fake vents. However, it's interesting because when you look at the Toyota Supra, it's just packed with fake vents in the front end. Here, everything is functional. This is open here, and down here you have the 2 LED fog lights at the very bottom of the truck. All right guys, moving on to the most important view when it comes to checking out the proportions of a car, and that is of course the side view. So starting here at the back, you have the taillights sticking in to the side of the car itself. And what I like about this integration here is that on the Tundra, we have this line here, the shoulder line dipping and going kind of curves around the fender here, which is by the way, this is some camo tech texture that we have on the fenders. I think it looks really good. It looks a lot better than just matte black. But in this case, we have this line continuing into the taillight and wrapping around the rear, which you're gonna have a look at in just a second. Then you have these black trim, gloss black around the windows. And look at the A-pillar here. Not sure if I'm a fan of this, having this be blacked out, because this is just a some sort of vinyl that is stuck on here to make the A-pillar black. It might reduce the overall weight of the car, but I don't think it would really be any better if it have it black than having that continue to just be orange. And down here we have these big 33-inch tires with a 18-inch wheels, and these are BBS forged wheels that you get from factory, which is not bad. I really like the design of these. You can definitely tell just by looking at the design of the wheel itself that this is a TRD Pro, which is good marketing and good brand identity for Toyota. You also have a very specific running board down here that says TRD on it, and you have this line that I think also reduces the overall weight. Imagine if all of this were all flat, it would kind of look a little too tall, so they decided to make this line, cut line in the door going here as two parallel lines to kind of carve out some of that volume that we have in the side view. One detail about these camo tech fenders that we have here, I think I would like to see them continue down here and create some sort of plastic cladding protection down here in the corner. Cutting them here, it kind of looks unique, but I think having them extended all the way on both sides would add to the design of the car, the styling, but also the protection of the bodywork when you go on the trails. And have a look at these massive, absolutely massive side mirrors. Thankfully, these are power folded. Last but not least, we need to talk about this graphic up here. This is just for visual appeal or for styling. It's not actually functional right here, but I do still think it looks pretty good. And this also gives them a place where they can put the TRD logo on. Then we have this line that I think looks awesome going into the headlight because it mirrors the line we talked about in the rear and kind of gives it the same vibe by dipping down here, curving around the wheel arch, and then going into the front headlight. All right guys, talking about the rear design of the Sequoia, there are a couple of things here that I personally would like to change, and I'm going to talk about those in just a second. First of all, let's have a look at the graphics. I do love these taillights and the sequential indicator light here. I also like this black piece that we have in the middle, and I'm glad that Toyota decided to not give in to the trend of the decade, which is to have a complete light bar in the rear end, and instead just keep this black. I think it looks good. However, one thing I would change is this logo. Why do we have a chrome logo in the back, but we don't have that in the front? This is the only chrome piece on the entire ride. So what I would do is just take this off, move these Sequoia letters and have them be right here, and maybe not even have a Toyota logo in the rear because it's such a special car. I think that would look a lot better than having the single chrome feature being this rear logo. And then you have the reverse camera. It's located right here in a good position. Down low, we have a pretty nice looking diffuser. Nothing crazy going on here. What I do love about the rear end are the dual exhausts. Those are TRD exhausts in black. I think they look great. Would maybe be cooler to have quad exhaust, have the same layout that we have there on this side, but that wouldn't maybe feel too Toyota-ish. Toyota is not crazy about having too many exhausts in the rear. This fits sort of the brand identity of Toyota. All right guys, so we are inside of the Sequoia TRD Pro. Let's fire it up real quick and check out the tech in here. So we have a big, kind of a miniature TV on the infotainment screen. This is 14 inches across. Then we have a fully digital gauge cluster. I love that we have this cap for it. It doesn't gonna get that glare, so you can clearly see what's going on in the gauge cluster. This sturdy looking gear selector might look a little uncomfortable because of the bulky design of it, but it's actually really nice to use. And then you have a very clear backup camera, a bunch of different camera modes as well. And you have, for the first time ever in a Sequoia, you have heated and ventilated seats for both the passenger and the driver. One detail again that I love about this interior is this heritage badge that we have embossed onto the dash right in front of the passengers. They can sit and admire this shape and kind of touch it and feel it as they go along instead of having a third screen over here. I also like that we have physical buttons for the key controls, just like we have in the Tundra for the climate and so on. You have different camera views. You have the trail button here. You can turn off the traction control and you can lock the rear differential. In the middle stack here, you can choose between two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive high, or four-wheel drive low, and you have the different buttons for the different drive modes right here. Another tech that I wish that pretty much every single new car had would be to have this beautiful digital rear view mirror, which is super high resolution and just makes it so that you can actually see in a kind of panoramic view what's behind you instead of having to look back or using the low resolution screen on the infotainment screen. There is plenty of storage in here. You have this sliding little compartment here. You can lift this whole thing up and you have a lot more storage down here. You have USB-A, USB-C, some coin holders, and some separators for this big compartment in the middle. Down at this level, you have the wireless charging for your phone and of course a regular size glove box. The steering wheel, I really like what Toyota is doing when it comes to the steering wheel. It's super comfortable and thick at the correct places. You have the red line specifically for the TRD Pro that shows you dead center when you're going off-road, and you can kind of hard to see the wheel position. You have this to help you with that, and you have the beautiful TRD logo at the bottom of the steering wheel as well. Look up top and you see that we have a pretty small sunroof up here. For what you're paying, you would kind of expect to be a big panoramic roof, but that wouldn't work because we have the big cargo rack upstairs with the platform where you can put whatever stuff you want, and that comes with the TRD Sequoia, and that obviously makes it difficult to have this be any bigger than it is. And to me, that's not a problem. I'm not a huge fan of sunroofs anyway, so for me, it doesn't really matter. I like that we have a small display, digital display, where you can see the climate information and what you're looking at, the temperature and so on, very easily, and that it's separated from the user interface that is in this big 14-inch screen. And look at the integration of this. It looks really nice. You have these vents going into the screen and creating some sort of home for the screen, and makes it look that it's actually part of the rest of the interior. So very well done, Toyota, with this interior and in the Tundra as well, for keeping the housing over the gauge cluster, keeping a big screen. That's fine because it is well integrated in the middle, and adding the heritage badge on the passenger side. All right guys, setting off in the 2023 TRD Sequoia. I absolutely love what Toyota is doing with their designs right now, with the interior design. As I said, how many companies are actually putting the effort into, for example, designing this and having it be integrated in the interior itself, and also still having the gauge cluster being under a proper cap, so we don't have the glares. I really like what they're doing with their interior. I think the new Tacoma is also going to have this same kind of layout that we have here, both in the exterior, because we've seen the spy shots already. I made a quick rendering of it on the channel here a few weeks back, and if they look the same in the exterior, they're probably going to look exactly the same in the interior as well, or very, very similar. So I really hope they're going to keep the housing for the gauge cluster and the infotainment screen as it is in the new Tacoma as well. One technical feature that I can't get enough of is just this digital rear view mirror. You know, normally I don't like screens, but in this case, having this up here is just such a useful feature and something that I would actually want to have in every single car. And that's my review of the Sequoia TRD Pro. Make sure you go to urbanmotorsco.com to check out the inventory of Urban Motors. And thanks again to Stefan for letting me review this car today. I'll see you in the next video.